comes courtesy of our friends over at The View. When I say our friends over at The View, I mean the low IQ idiots who are on panel at The View. And yes, you are a complete stupid idiot. My God, she is so stupid. This is the same lady who thinks everything is racist. Everything and everyone is racist, except Hitler and the Holocaust. Genius, Whoopi Goldberg.
Ben Shapiro has done it again. If there's one thing Ben loves more than a good debate, it's exposing the laughable contradictions and outright absurdities of The View. And at the center of this storm, none other than Whoopi Goldberg. From Holocaust denialism to her wild defense of terrorist organizations, Whoopi's statements have handed Shapiro enough material to fuel a year's worth of takedowns. But this time, he's not just calling her out. He's completely dismantling her arguments piece by piece. Stay tuned as we break down the moments that left Whoopi seething, the audience stunned, and Shapiro's fans cheering for more. This isn't just a clash of ideas. It's a masterclass in exposing media bias, ignorance, and hypocrisy.
Lifelong ambition to actually be a guest on The View. They'll never have me on, of course, because it would go horribly for them. But today,
let's dive into one of Whoopi Goldberg's most controversial moments. Her bizarre claim that the Holocaust wasn't about race. Yes, you heard that right. On live television, Whoopi attempted to reframe one of history's darkest chapters as a case of man's inhumanity to man. For Ben Shapiro, a proud Jewish commentator, this wasn't just ignorant. It was deeply offensive. Shapiro didn't hold back, labeling Whoopi's remarks as a grotesque rewriting of history and a dangerous example of how woke narratives can distort reality. He pointed out that the Nazis explicitly viewed Jews as an inferior race, a fact so well documented that it's almost embarrassing to have to explain it.
The Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about race.
No, it's about a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
no!
But here's the kicker. Even after widespread backlash, Whoopi doubled down on her comments before offering a lukewarm apology. Shapiro called it out for what it was, an attempt to save face without taking real accountability. When you trivialize something as catastrophic as the Holocaust, Shapiro remarked, you lose all credibility. Period.
Not only is that the worst clip in the history of The View, that is the worst clip in the history of television. Whoopi Goldberg is obnoxious and stupid beyond all measure. The Holocaust was not about race. Ask the Nazis. The entire Holocaust was about race. All of it. Which is why they didn't just pick on Jews who observed Judaism. They picked on anyone who had quote-unquote Jewish blood. The entire thing was about race.
If you thought Whoopi's Holocaust comments were bad, wait until you hear her take on the Israel-Palestine conflict. In another jaw-dropping moment, Whoopi compared democratic nations like the United States and Israel to terrorist organizations like Hamas and the Taliban.
I've been comparing the U.S., Israel, Hamas, and the Taliban as all terrorist organizations. And she has maybe way more knowledge and experience in the very complicated Middle Eastern relations. But I did find that being on a foreign committee and comparing the country to a known terror, those are organized terrorist communities, that, not Israel, but Hamas and the Taliban.
Shapiro wasted no time tearing this apart. Let's be clear, he said. Hamas openly calls for the destruction of Israel and the genocide of Jews. To equate that with nations defending themselves is not just ignorant, it's morally bankrupt. He went on to explain how statements like Whoopi's feed into dangerous narratives that delegitimize Israel's right to exist. This isn't just a bad take, Shapiro argued. It's a take that emboldens extremists while undermining genuine efforts for peace.
Taliban,
That depends on who you talk to.
right. Well, I mean, that's how they're recognized as terrorist organizations.
But it does depend on who you talk to.
Well, they're recognized in this country.
Depends on who you talk to. Whoopi, always available to sign in to both compare Israel and the United States to terrorist organizations and also compare terrorist organizations to apparently not terrorist organizations. Like, Hamas is not a terrorist organization? Oh, man. It is amazing because Whoopi is sort of seen on this show as sort of the wise old sage. And I have to say, you need better sages.
Whoopi's infamous abortion rant is another moment Shapiro couldn't ignore. During a heated discussion, Whoopi claimed that men should have no say in debates about abortion. For Shapiro, this wasn't just hypocritical. It was downright ridiculous. By Whoopi's logic, he quipped, men shouldn't have opinions on anything that doesn't directly involve them. So does that mean she's against male allies in feminism? Against male politicians voting on women's rights? Of course not. She's just pandering to her audience.
Do any of you men have any eggs or the possibility of carrying a fetus? How dare you talk about what a fetus wants? You have no idea. I'm fine if you disagree with abortion. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, you do.
My problem comes when you tell me what I need to do with my doctor and my family. How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you?
Shapiro also highlighted the irony in Whoopi's stance. If we're going to play the identity politics game, he said, does that make Whoopi transphobic for implying only biological women can have babies? By her own party's standards, she's canceled.
Okay, so I have a few questions many questions on this, as it turns out. First,
transphobia.
Massive transphobia. If you don't have eggs, you can't. Are you saying that some women can't be men and some men can't be women? Are you saying that unless you have eggs, you're not a woman? Is that what you're saying, Whoopi Goldberg? Also, if that is the new standard, how about women who are postmenopausal? Whoopi Goldberg? Can they have opinions on? I mean, you can't have a baby right now, I assume. How old is Whoopi Goldberg? She's in her 60s.
It's impossible to discuss The View without mentioning Joy Behar, Whoopi's frequent partner in absurdity. Whether it's her race-baiting comments or her penchant for labeling conservatives as evil, Joy provides Shapiro with just as much fodder as Whoopi. One of Shapiro's favorite moments, when Joy claimed that Black Americans should always vote Democrat because it's what's best for them.
I don't think that kids in this country are learning our history. They're not learning about slavery. They're not learning about Jim Crow. They don't understand the history of Black Americans in this country. If they did, they would then understand white privilege better. So my suggestion is start teaching this stuff. It's deplorable, again, that word, that they do not learn history, period. I mean, people who are young, under 50, don't know who FDR was.
Shapiro didn't just call her out. He dismantled her argument, pointing out how patronizing and racist such statements are. The idea that an entire racial group should think and vote the same way is the very definition of prejudice. He said, Shapiro has often referred to The View as a human repository of stupidity, and it's not hard to see why. The show's panelists consistently push poorly researched narratives, often doubling down even when faced with overwhelming evidence to the contrary. But for Shapiro, the real issue isn't just the bad takes, it's the platform. When you have millions of viewers tuning in, he said, you have a responsibility to be informed. Instead, The View churns out divisive, fact-free commentary and pretends it's journalism. Here's a question many have asked. What would happen if Ben Shapiro ever appeared on The View? One thing's for sure. It would be a disaster for the panelists. Shapiro has hinted that he'd love the opportunity to take them on directly. And honestly, who wouldn't want to see that? Imagine Shapiro calmly dismantling every poorly constructed argument while Whoopi and Joy scramble to keep up. It would be the ultimate clash of ideologies. And let's be real, the ratings would be through the roof. At the end of the day, Shapiro's critiques of The View go beyond entertainment. They highlight a broader issue: the decline of intellectual rigor in mainstream media. Shows like The View thrive on sensationalism and groupthink, leaving little room for nuanced discussions or diverse perspectives. For Shapiro, this isn't just a problem, it's a challenge. If we're going to have real conversations about the issues that matter, he said, we need to demand better from our media. And that starts with holding shows like The View accountable. What do you think? Has The View become a relic of outdated media, or does it still serve a purpose in today's cultural landscape? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.